Yo, we are live on the TAZ Show. Hashtag the TAZ Show. Hashtag the TAZ. Top test TAZ. Test. Microphone test TAZ. Top test TAZ Show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about power friending with Amber Mack. We're going to be doing some hustle tweeting. And we're going to be doing some impressive collectibles trading. I'm going to put my phone number up on the screen as I do every week. And I'm going to have callers call in and ask what they're going to bid on my collectibles right here on the TAZ Show. Stay with us. And we're back after that network break. It was about half past Israel on my totally great IsraelMilitary.com watch. That brings me to a little bit of a moment here where I can advertise for my sponsor. If you need Israeli military goods, then the first thing you should be shopping at, first place you should be shopping at is IsraelMilitary.com. The top dogs in global conflict, materials, clothing, and accessories. Back in a second.
Faced off against Hollywood Hogan at Starrcade in December of 1997.
So right now, we're just booting up Dave Meltzer's disc. You know, this brings me to the topic of the day. Who's going into the Hall of Fame first? Bill Apter, Dave Meltzer, or Wade Keller? Or maybe is it going to be Taz A? Who even knows? Let's see what we got here.
It was a huge moment for WCW. After everything he went through and being gone and coming back with the NWO doing everything they were doing, for Sting to come out victorious, he was very instrumental in his career.
So we've got a serious look at some of the dead wrestlers we all know and love. And there's Davey Boy Smith, Johnny Valentine, Kurt Hennig, Andre the Giant, Miss Elizabeth, a collection of wrestlers in tributes to Dave Meltzer's professional wrestling look. There's Meltzer there. And if you want to use this material in your TAZ production, you need to have multiple devices. Ubuntu, Windows 10, Google devices, and a whole bunch of other applications to rip this program so you can watch it. Now what I'm going to do here today is burn this program into closed captioning. That's right, as soon as we're done watching this, we're going to upload another version with closed captioning intact so our deaf friends can pay attention to what this man has to say about professional wrestling. Let's have a break from that. Back in a New York Broadway 60-minute second. So today on the show, we're talking about collectibles. I got two mint Lucha Libre journals, zines, as they've been prepared. Let's see where they were made.
Like the mystique was so big and so brooding, and he was so awesome. Would you look from the heavens? If it's not Sting, we're at war. And there were all these badass.
Well, I don't know where they were made because there's no ISBN number. And no barcode. So if I wanted to do a little bit of a trace to unauthorized publications, I certainly would use this one as a base catalog. Unlike Mr. Meltzer, Dave, your wrestling magazine there, your dirt sheet, has a International Book Standard number, or IBSN number. This does not. So I would suggest, for mature readers only, I would suggest this is a terrible magazine, but we'll have a look at it after. Anyway, just to see what we're going to auction off here on the show. You'll notice I didn't call it the TAZ show. That's because there's only one TAZ. He ain't me, and I ain't him. So we're renaming this show The Show, but we will be broadcasting it on hashtag The TAZ Show. Back in a minute.
By April of 1998, the rapid momentum of WWE's He gave me the chance to be myself, to be the Undertaker. I stayed by his side, even after all his hand-chosen favorites left town for greener pastures, more money. I stayed here. Having helped turn the tide, the Undertaker was justified in demanding the spotlight. However, the Phenom would instead prefer to share the wealth.
Here we are back on the show. In the first book we're going to have a gander at today, a Newfoundland gander, is High Spots and Hot Spots by infamous pro wrestling photographer George Napolitano. That reminds me of a grand old story I have about Vince McMahon. You know, the first time Vince and I met, I was a young cameraman at the Sky Dome in Toronto. It was just after WrestleMania 6, and I was new to the business. And you know something? It was fantastic, because I went to the ring, and Mr. McMahon, I had this rickety old camera that barely worked, and I went to the ring, I shoved it full of batteries, and Mr. McMahon, at that point in time, had an EMP gun, and he shot it, and he zapped my batteries dry. Zapped them dry. I couldn't shoot one single photograph at ringside because Mr. McMahon came down the ring right when I was there and he said, "Young man," and the words he said to me were, "Bullshit."
The Undertaker had redefined his character without sacrificing the original essence of his persona. But by June of 1998, the same could not be said for World Championship Wrestling's Man of Mystery. In hopes of regaining their momentum, WCW looked to the New World Order.
The NWO split right at the top. Now it looks like the battle lines are going to be drawn. Let's get out our papers and keep track of the different rosters within the new world.
So let's have a look here at the game. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. If any of you so-called wrestling journalists want to get in a little competition about who's broadcasting what and who's the top podcast broadcaster in sports entertainment today, you're looking through the lens right at them. So why don't we take a little break now that I have the game on top of my mind and flash y'all some of my photography. So here we go. I'm gonna bring up the Magic Realm box so I can show everybody in the world how I'm pulling up my photographs from my time. Pictures back up. Let's have a look-see here. What do we want to look at here? Let's find a good, nice photograph of me posing in the ring. Typical poser. A whole lot of Jack and Jill, if you know what I'm saying, Vince McMahon. Let's find the man. Accept the Lord of Darkness as your Savior. There's some old promos I used to cut back when I was a UFC cast-off. And here's a shout-out to Dave Meltzer. You know, Mr. Meltzer, as much as I respect you as your wrestling skills and your wrestling dictionary mind, your dedication to UFC shows you have nothing but disrespect for the company that put you on top. Sure, you want to talk about UFC being Dubai owned, but I want to talk about you being owned by Dubai. Oh, here's a photograph. You know, let's have a look back again. From Parts Unknown. Let me put that up in the viewfinder. Here we go. From Parts Unknown. No international standard book number on this. Let me show you something else that has no international standard book number. The Animal Liberation Primer and Social Revolution. And this is what you're going to get if you decide to elect Bernie Sanders. That's enough of that. So what are we going to portray here? What are we going to portray on the magic lens? Where are my photographs of Triple H?
The Undertaker was part of a star-studded roster that was dominating the Monday Night Ratings.
Look at this photograph. Look at the man in the center of the ring. That very ring is staring back at you and saying, the best podcaster in the business today.
Championship wrestling. Sting had left the NWO Wolfpack and was back on his own. But even a return to his most successful persona was not enough to overcome WCW's lack of direction.
So here's some more classic photographs from the area. The right hand didn't know the left hand existed.
Lackadaisical and nonchalant and didn't really care. It was almost like the Three Stooges of wrestling.
The Three Stooges of Wrestling.
$1 billion company. that was the way it was, but that really literally was the way it was.
Look who it is. It's my main man, Wayne Ferris. Oh my God, I let his name out. Wayne Honky Tonk Man Ferris. Wayne Ferris, you're a Memphis money mark. And speaking of Memphis money marks, speaking of Memphis money marks,
and left for WWE.
The floodgates just opened, and it brought a lot of people
let's have a
to the WWE.
brief moment
Became huge stars.
to enjoy my Memphis money mark. How much do I love professional wrestling, Jerry Lawler? Well, fuck Jerry.
Abandoned the company he had helped build.
I'm abandoning that company that I helped build.
To leave. The only guy to carry the WCW banner always.
I asked Sting why he never left, and he said he was always afraid they would never make him Sting. And I got that, and I saw that, and I don't think Sting would have been Sting in the WWE.
My greatest regret for Sting is that he never came to the WWE. I told him for years, get out of this place, man. You are so good. But he was making so much money, he had a level of
When Sting lays down for no one, neither does I.
Jump from World Championship Wrestling to the World Wrestling Federation. This man was loyal. He bled WCW.
Let's have some classics here. Who's loyal? The reporter is loyal. Loyalty in this business is a word that doesn't go very far among the media scoundrels like Dave Meltzer and the Wade Keller. Guys who hire the newest interns to do their business and don't care what happens 10 years down the road. Well, it's a crisis in professional wrestling. It's a veritable clusterfuck.
He was a star. He was a star, but what was right for business is what Sting did.
I always think he'll be their flagship, their hood emblem. He was the only guy that was with them before, during, and after Nitro, and he really represented the WCW franchise. It always will.
Sting's loyalty to WCW could only be matched by The Undertaker's to WWE. Together, their parallel legacies are of two superstars who carried their company's banner with honor and commitment during sports entertainment's most competitive and chaotic era.
It's very important for each company to have an exclusive star, like The Undertaker, WWE, and Sting in WCW, because those guys are the leaders. Everybody
There's me watching Jimmy Hart's back. And you know what? I watch Jimmy Hart's back because he watches Hulk Hogan's back. And Hulkamania is here to stay.
And Sting wasn't coming to WWE.
The Undertaker, he's a rarity in our business. When you look at longevity, no one has performed at a greater level for that amount of time.
The Undertaker's somber persona has been a terrifying
Here's one of my favorites. Lufisto's Best of Number 8. Signed and sealed. Now that makes me wonder, you know, you male collectors out there are collecting men's signatures in your little book, but how much money are you giving credit to the women that changed the business? How much is Fabulous Moolah's signature worth?
But The Undertaker and Sting
I want to know that.
and were rewarded with championships, the admiration of their peers, and unmatched legacies of loyalty and respect. It is Sting, and what he is in his heart has always been World Championship Wrestling. The Undertaker was here for the
There I am getting ink, getting the name of the man of the name, inked into my skin to prove that I am who I say I am, the best in the business today.
Monday Night War. Watch anytime on demand. Only on WWE Network.
The ultimate good guy versus the ultimate bad guy.
That's a brief tour. Let's have a little momentary break for network affiliate commercials. Listen up.
Hello, McFly.
And we're back on the TAZ show on Satcom. Let's have a look at some famous legends from the local area. Look at Tommy Dreamer in his business suit. This is Tommy Dreamer signing checks and cashing breaking necks. The man, Dominic DiNucci. He taught me everything I know about this business. Wade Keller, Dave Meltzer, who taught you? Here's Dominic DiNucci meeting the one and only Sweet Daddy Siki. Now, if you're from the area and you can give me a heads up on who the gentleman to Sweet Daddy Siki's left is, I would be pleased to have him on the show on a future episode. In fact, I'm going to give Sweet Daddy Siki a call any day now. A moment in history. There's a tough man right there. No, I'm not talking about the signature on the bottom of the photograph. No, that's just some guy who's trying to take his business away from Dave Meltzer's business, because when that split happens, they're trying to create another monopoly in wrestling media. Well, it ain't gonna happen. And here you go, another moment. Sal Corrente, JJ Dillon, Sweet Daddy Siki, and look who it is. The man, Bruno Sammartino, the godfather of the five families. Back when Arda and Jimmy were in the business of the business and batting cleanup. And I'm next on that roster. So Wade Keller and Dave Meltzer, you better keep your eyes out for the #1 podcaster, broadcaster, and schmozzcaster in North America today.
Here we are at WrestleMania. And it's the biggest match of your career. Why? Because everything you stand for is on the line. Namely the $1 million belt. Oh yeah. It can be yours once.
You want to talk about your fitness levels. You want to talk about your CrossFit. Look at Dominic DiNucci. Just finished wrestling his 9 millionth match at 75 years old. And people want to talk about their fit because they can do show your grit routines, program routines on a machine, John Cena. There's show your grit, John Cena. Now it's my turn.
You are going to get down on your hands and knees. This time, you'll be the one that's humbled. This time, you'll be the one that's humiliated. And this time, You will be the one that grovels for the money. And how appropriate.
How appropriate that the godfather of professional wrestling is having a meeting, a psychological cyber warrior meeting with the godfather of podcasting and the godfather of broadcasting of professional wrestling right here, right now. Well, that's it for that break. We're done looking at the photographs of my collection. Now on to something a little more demonic. I need some advice from the broadcasters and the podcasters out there about what type of headphones I should wear while I do this broadcast. Right now I'm on Black Web, my own personal brand from Walmart. Shout out to Walmart at this point in the broadcast. Back in a minute.
Legendary superstars with very different personalities.
Me, my little boy, my wife, we're not going to let you down. This is going to be the year the dragon.
Back on the show, thanks to the network advertisers for filling up your headspace. Now it's my turn. The first book we're going to read and review on the show, we're not going to read the whole book, we're going to turn to one single page, and I'm going to quote one single line from the book. If you want to buy this book, go to Chris Jericho's Y2J's Fozzie feed on his podcast, have a look at his Amazon link, and buy this book there. But if you want the truth from me right now, let's just pick a page. This is called Pick a Page. I picked a page, now it's called line. Find a line. He looked at Gotch. There could be no statement further from the truth, because I did look at Gotch, and Gotch looked at me. Back in a minute with Pick a Page.
During the 1970s, Jim Crockett's Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling was gaining exposure as one of the National Wrestling Alliance's most popular...
Well, the great Karnak has been shocked by the book he picked up next. Chris Kanyon, dead. So let's find a line in his book and see how it relates to the rest of you gooners. He agreed. There, Chris Kanyon agreed. Another quote from the word of the book, and the word of the Bible, the word of the God of broadcasting and broadcasting.
The popular consensus of opinion by the fans of Berlin seems to be weighted heavily in favor of Ric Flair. That's right.
I wanted to show over the top. I wanted to do their very best.
Ric Flair, he probably is one of the biggest stars in wrestling today. He knows it. He's probably one of the biggest egotists.
I took it very seriously.
Oh wow, I did it again. I picked a page. What book are we reading? Drawing Heat by Jim Friedman. Available where fine books are sold. So let's see the page I picked. And what line did I pick? Chapter 5. Working Town. working towns looking for a payday. That sums up the definition of Wade Keller and Dave Meltzer. Two chump stains looking for towns, looking for a payday, got nothing coming to them because they ain't got nothing.
Handsome, great body, nice guy. Ricky's been more progressive from day one.
Having already battled several of Mid-Atlantic's established superstars, Ric Flair saw an opportunity in the talented Steamboat. Hoping to achieve great matches with a new opponent, Flair took a chance on the unproven superstar.
Be still, my beating heart. In my hands, my greedy little hands now, is forgiven by Vince Russo. One man's journey from self-glorification to sanctification. That's funny. Does anybody remember the poison pill? The WCW poison pill? I do. Does anybody remember VinceRusso.com, what I made? Which beats any site that has ever been made by any of these schmozzcasters, these broadcasters, these podcasters. They got nothing!
Flair, who was the champ, he was a top guy who needed an opponent. And Ricky was this good-looking, quiet-looking guy. He was pretty good, but he's not really a main player. And Flair saw something in Ricky. He said, I can pull it out of him.
Back to pick a page. So here we are. It's a magic trick. You know, it's fake, like magic, like wrestling's fake. You know, phony. So let's pick a page. You want to pick a page? Here, I'll do the trick for you. First, we're reading Hooker by TAZ. So I showed you the page, the book, and I'm going to find the point in the book that I'm going to read. Right there. Can you see it? Good. A lot of these guys did very well. Exactly. A lot of these guys did very well, but they weren't the best in the business. I am the best podcaster, the best broadcaster, and I certainly ain't no schmozzcaster.
Holding his own against the nature boy in his Mid-Atlantic debut, Ricky Steamboat would begin to shine and catch both the audience and the champion by surprise.
Back on the show, I got something worth keeping here. We're back on the Collectibles segment of the show. I don't know if anyone can tell me what this is, but I'm going to do a special online tribute to Jeff Hardy and TNA Impact Wrestling later on another show, on another tribute to Collectibles that I'm going to produce later on as part of the TAZ Show hashtag until I get banned permanently from the hashtag and suspended from American airwaves by Columbia Broadcasting System for my Twitter account, which is TAZ CBS. Anyway, what I'm talking about right now is these armbands, official armbands. There's 2 in a pack. I want to know how much they're worth. Give me a shout on the TAZ Show on Twitter. All you gotta do is tweet me at the TAZ Show and tell me how much you think these are worth. Long term, short term, today term. Let's have a break.
The building tension between the soft-spoken Steamboat
We're back on the show. Just gonna give a shout out to Amber Mack of Power Friending, who was kind enough to autograph this book for me. One of her books, but I didn't really read it because the only books I read are wrestling books. Speaking of wrestling books, let me get one that I wish to share with you. The final book in today's episode of Pick a Page.
Ask these girls, who is the number one man in the whole wide world? Come, girls. All right, huh? There was this shy Hawaiian kid, handsome as could be, who I love to bully, and it worked out great. Where do you figure, come on, zoom in there, huh? Where do you figure that a turkey like this figures into my plan, huh? I made the guy overnight. I made him a big star. He got lucky one day in life. He beat me right there. He was an instant star, and I destroyed him.
Look whose book this is. The manager of the man, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Speaking of Hollywood Hulk Hogan, oh, now we got some boos from the audience. Speaking of Hollywood Hulk Hogan, have a look at the Hollywood ink on my arm. That's Superstar ink. If you go back further enough on Ask Corey Graves or Corey Graves' Twitter site, you can see my Superstar ink logged in on Twitter for all of an eternity. And oh yeah, POTUS, tweets may be archived.
He's a very controlled character. Once Ricky Steamboat attacked Ric Flair, tore Flair's clothes from him, people couldn't believe.
There's Jimmy Hart's signature. If you have any idea how much this is worth and how much you think it's worth, not how much some Beckett's guide or some Topps guide or some tape traders think it's worth, you give me a shout. We're gonna have a new standard of wrestling signatures. It's a new time, a new era. If there's a new women's belt, well, we're gonna start with women wrestlers and we're gonna find out what their signatures are worth.
We went around with that and started selling out. Night.
Now more than just an opposition of hero versus villain, the rejuvenated Flair Steamboat struggle continued to entertain audiences in the years that followed, as both superstars benefited from their competitive adversary.
So we're back. Dolph Ziggler. Any idea? I have no idea how much this is worth. I had a book with a ton of signatures in it, and I let it flop in the wind. That's okay, because I'll get them back. All I gotta do is send Stanford an email and say, "Dear sir, please send me an 8x10 photograph so I may get it signed at the next WWE live event." It's something simple that any jabroni can do, and it keeps you in the good graces of Stanford. You know, let me talk about Stanford for a second. I've been a WWE contracted employee since the 1990s, since the day I went to Stanford, Connecticut, off that big bad highway there, and I walked into the front door and I said, "Linda, I'm here." And Linda came to the door and she said to me, "Son, I have no money to offer you today, but I do have this." And she handed me one of these. She handed me one of these, an 8x10, signed by The Undertaker. And that's the only pay I ever took from Vince McMahon. And despite what these jabronis, these dime store jabronis that run their schmozcasts want to think, they're never going to work for McMahon, because all they want is the dollar. Well, you know something? I'm independent. Indie media. That means I have a contract, and I work for WWE, and I'm independent, and I'm a podcaster, and I'm a broadcaster, and I'm a trained professional wrestler. What are you? Back with the photographs. This came from Smith Hart. Thank you, Smith. Matt Hart.
match with Ricky Steamboat and Rupert Michelin of the WWE.
That's Stu Hart. Bret Hart. Get well, Bret. So we'll be back in a second after this network break.
Headlines in WWE. Ric Flair continued to reign supreme as
The one and the only World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. Whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it.
In November of 1988, Jim Crockett Promotions was purchased by media mogul Ted Turner and rebranded World Championship Wrestling.
World Championship Wrestling, bringing you great wrestling action sanctioned by the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance.
And we're back in the studio. You know, this is the part of the show where I tell you wannabe broadcasters and you wannabe podcasters how to get off the schmoz casting tip and get your own studio. Get your own satellite system. Hook it up. Ask WWE Network to bridge your entire house and have cameras all over your house and have the ultimate broadcasting network, because that's what I'm doing. And when I ask WWE Network for something, they always reply. Just ask MC Somali.
21st, 1989, World Championship Wrestling introduced their newest superstar to a nationwide audience.
The final collectible we'll have today is a NASA coin to commemorate the shuttle crew emblem of the NASA Kennedy's Challenger series.
Everybody wanted to see it. You never tire of Ricky Steamboat versus
A commemorative coin to mark the tribute we have to the Challenger space crew. They are with us today. A moment of silence.
By pinning Flair, Steamboat was the #1 contender to face the flamboyant Nature Boy for the coveted NWA Championship. Additionally, WCW would benefit from Steamboat's victorious return, as one of the most storied rivalries in sports entertainment took center stage.
Coming back to WCW, George Scott, who was the booker at the time, wanted to figure out a way how to put us back together because he knew what kind of business we could do.
So we're just coming to the end of the TAZ show for today. We've got a few more minutes left, so let me give you a brief tour of the studio.
This confrontation is out of hand already. Talk about letting your ego get out of check.
It drew big money. Our ratings went up on TV in the next 2 or 3 months. It was up about 30%. It was unreal.
And Steamboat ripping away at the clothing of Nature Boy Ric Flair, and this battle.
There's device 1. How many devices do you have?
They put entertainment, clashing with in-ring savvy.
Devices. 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 How many devices do you have to broadcast?
I was Ric Flair, the world heavyweight champion, telling the whole world that Monday night, February 20th, Chi-Town Rumble, Chicago, Illinois, Steamboat versus Flair. Woo!
A date was set to write a new chapter in the renewed rivalry, building on their clash of opposing personalities from years past. Both Flair and Steamboat's enhanced characters spurred on the hype surrounding their impending face-off.
In '89, when Flair and I
got hooked up. It was more of the Flair persona with his girls and dating and risque stuff and, you know, having party time. I was very, very far from
Peace.
that style. You know, just the family type guy.
Ric Flair's got the belt, and that's one of the reasons why I came back to this area for the National Wrestling Alliance. Don't get me wrong, fans, that's number one. And the other